Hi everyone, my name is Max Wheeler. I am the director of the Kiewit Hall Garage, and this is our pitch for the College of Engineering Studio Manager. Quick agenda, we're going to talk about what the garage is, what the studio manager is and why it's important, work that has been done so far, our goals for the senior design program, and then our technical specifications of the project. So, number one, what is the garage? We are a student workshop. We have equipment in digital fabrication, metalworking, woodworking, and students can come in, use the equipment for their student projects, their personal projects, their clubs, other activities. We not only have the equipment, we also know how to use it all, and we teach people how to use these machines. We're located on the east side of Kiewit Hall, the first floor and the lower level. We've got, at full build out, we'll have more than 30 machines, and we're going to serve more than 4,000 students. The Studio Manager is the portal that we use for all of our operations. We use it for our event scheduling. That could be anything from trainings on specific machines and equipment. That could be workshops for how to build certain widgets for any number of things. We also use it for permission management. We want to make sure that before people are allowed to make reservations using this system, that they've taken the training, that they're authorized to use said equipment. So speaking of, we have our reservation system. We track reservations on the majority of our equipment to make sure that we aren't double booking anything, and then that way students can actually know that this machine will be available for them to use when they show up during their reservation time. Eventually, we will be able to use this for research opportunities. Could be anything from slicing data certain ways and looking at usage among different groups, different demographics, and seeing how they interact with the space. Could be any number of things. This is a topic that folks have been really excited about, and people have been approaching me asking me if they can start getting involved with it. So really excited for how we can start researching the use of the space. And then finally, statistics. This is a really large space, a lot of machines, a lot of people, and we will use the Studio Manager to get an idea of how things are going, get kind of a heartbeat on what is working and what is being utilized, and our uptime versus downtime, everything like that. So really it is our kind of hub for all of this information. It is absolutely mission critical. I have worked in spaces very similar to this before, where very small, maybe a dozen, maybe 2 dozen, totally doable to run that on pencil and paper, but eventually you need to replace it with a more automated system that's just better. So the Studio Manager is absolutely mission critical to everything that we do, and we make sure that we treat it rightfully so. Now, the development history. The initial conception for the Studio Manager was built for Nebraska Innovation Studio. It's a makerspace on Innovation Campus. It was built in 2015, the Studio Manager. And over the next 7 years, it was just a lot of bug fixes, a lot of triage work, really just kind of addressing problems as they came up. In August of 22, we started another capstone project, and that really was to address some key functionality needs and quality of life improvements for the everyday users and even really just the every now and then users. So really enjoyed that process, had a lot of really good work that came out of that team, and ended up saving us hundreds of hours every year just in the automation of a few tasks. That doesn't even include those quality of life improvements that just kind of make everything a little bit better, but really the functionality additions that we did there. Now, phase 3 has been going on for a little more than a year, and this has been some bug fixes, some compatibility updates, and then also just documenting and making sure that everything is standard across the board. So we are now ready for a new phase, a new addition of some key functionality, and really polishing and making sure that the Studio Manager is doing everything that we need it to do in a way that is really effective. The needed features that we do have, so number one, the biggest one, is a project storage system. We have a large warehouse here, and we need to make sure that we're maintaining it in a sensible way. So you can imagine TSA style bins where people can store their materials for their projects, they can store their projects, they can check it in and out, and we need a way to make sure that we are storing that information properly and we can recall it quickly, and we can also correlate it to different projects. So we need a physical bin management system, essentially. We also need to look into 3D printer file handling. Currently, we manage that with SD cards, so we're shuffling SD cards back and forth, turns into a great big pain. And I'd be really interested to see if there's a way that we can simplify this process for the user, make it make sense for them a little bit more. We also need to initially configure the site for our new system. Right now, everything on the Studio Manager, all the site copy, all the features, everything they're using is all set up for Nebraska Innovation Studio. And so we need to make sure that it's set up appropriately for the garage, make sure that everything there makes sense, and really just kind of adapt it for our uses here. And then finally, I've got a whole wish list. I could sit here and list out a couple hundred different ways that we can improve this. And I want to make sure that what we're asking for is appropriate, is a reasonable thing that we can accomplish in 1 year. So I'm really interested in sitting down with this group and identifying, what is possible within this time frame. I've got them sorted out in terms of priorities, and just want to make sure that we're being reasonable. Now, the project flow that we're looking at, currently, everything that we have is operational. Again, it's maybe a little bit biased towards Nebraska Innovation Studio, towards its former use, and current use still, but we want to make sure that those are updated. So the current state, operational, but missing some key elements. Really interested then in moving forward to a scope planning, where we sit down with our technical resources, with the student team, to make sure that we are prioritizing those based on what do we actually need and the difficulty of those different items. Once we start actually going through that process, interested in 2 to 3 releases during the school year, flexible on the timeline, much more interested in making sure that, again, we're putting out a quality product, even if it does take a little bit longer. Now, our technical details. The system is built using the tools that you can see above. There's a link to the GitHub if you would like to see it yourself. And I do want to shout out Thomas Newman. He is a UNL web applications developer. He is going to be one of the technical resources for this team. And he's spent the past 18 months or so standardizing the system, documenting it, shoring it up, making sure that it works and does what we need it to do. So really appreciate him. And that is everything that we have. Looking forward to hearing more and talking to y'all soon. Thank you very much.